episode of DE Editors Chat. Today we are going to be talking about some of the latest trade shows that we went to and the news that we heard. So first, let's introduce each other again. Brian, welcome back. Would you mind introducing yourself again?
No problem. This is Brian Albright, Editorial Director at Digital Engineering.
All right, thank you. And I'm Kenneth Wong. I'm Senior Editor for DE 24/7. So I guess we'll start with Autodesk University. Brian, you didn't go there, but I went there. It was hosted in New Orleans. Have you ever been there?
I used to go to New Orleans quite a bit. Always enjoyed my trips there. Hope you got a chance to enjoy some food while you were there.
Indeed. I tried something I've never tried before, which is crocodile meat nuggets and tacos. I don't know if people will be disappointed if I say it tastes like chicken, only it's a lot sweeter.
Yeah. Like
But
that's
that's
kind
what
of
it is.
the general idea around alligator and crocodile. That's what it does, and I've had it too. So yeah, that's a pretty good description of it. Well, in addition to the culinary delights, what else did you learn while you were at Autodesk University?
I learned a lot about clouds. That is, Autodesk clouds. Of course, Autodesk has always had three industry segments: the AEC, architecture, engineering, and construction, and M&E, which is media and entertainment, and the part that we focus on, product design and manufacturing, of course. At AU, it turns out that Autodesk wants to launch industry-specific clouds. So that means Autodesk Former is the name of the cloud dedicated to AEC. Autodesk Flow is the name of the cloud dedicated to media and entertainment. And Autodesk Fusion, already familiar with our readers, is the one for product design. I guess the idea is that Autodesk wants third-party developers to start developing things, ancillary products, things that will work to augment their own flagship titles using these cloud services. So what used to be known as Autodesk Forge is now going to be known as Autodesk Platform Services.
Did they provide, much idea of how this might change things for some of the users in our space?
In terms of simulation, I think we have already seen some examples that are going strong. For example, Simulation Hub. Simulation Hub is this company that offers online browser accessible simulation applications. They're very specific. One of them would be simulating liquid flow inside a specific type, standard type of valves.
Mhm.
So you just have to go onto it. You become a subscriber to this app, and then you can simulate using this app. And that app is running on top of Autodesk Forge, but now it'll be called Autodesk Platform Services. So that gives us an idea about what kind of things they look forward to with these cloud services.
I see. All right. There were some other cloud news, also from some other branches of our engineering and simulation software universe. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, that's right. I think we heard about the launch of Ansys Gateway powered by AWS.
Mhm.
So that is Ansys applications that are now available to run on top of Amazon Web Services, Amazon's on-demand Elastic Cloud, and in fact that app, so to speak, that Answers Gateway powered by AWS, the product itself is available on Amazon Marketplace. So you just go there and you just go to Amazon Marketplace and you can find it there in the
Mhm.
catalog of products. And similarly, we also see Siemens doing something similar in November. SimCenter Cloud HPC is the same idea. And that's going to appear as part of the Siemens Accelerator as a Service. Accelerator as a Service. So it's a play on the SaaS, but now you're going to call it XaaS because it's
Right.
accelerator. But it is running on AWS cloud. So it seems like we're going to be seeing more and more simulation, what used to be running on workstations and on-premise servers and hardware that is essentially in an air-conditioned server room is gradually moving towards that kind of public cloud, on-demand cloud
Mhm.
services.
And it's also interesting too because AWS is obviously it's a public cloud service and it utilized across industries and platforms and in all sorts of markets for different applications. But there's been some definite targeted activity around the engineering space in these partnerships with specific software vendors. So that's been interesting to see as well.
Yeah, it makes sense to me, I think, because if you're running simulation on a workstation or in an on-premise server, uh, there is a finite amount of computing that is available to you. Once you hit that limit, your simulation job has to be trimmed down, or you're going to have to put up with waiting for much longer days. But with AWS, if you need more power, you signed up for more core. So it makes sense to me that this kind of simulation jobs, which we know are growing in size and complexity, is going towards using the cloud hosted computing cores as the backbone of that job. Let's also talk about some of the trade shows, some of the news that came from the trade shows that you went to, Brian. Which trade show did you go to recently?
Well, I didn't actually get to go to this one, but I was following very closely what happened at Formnext in Europe just before Thanksgiving. Um, Big additive show in Europe. Uh, we did have a presence there, but it wasn't me, unfortunately. That there was, there were a lot of announcements, a lot of new hardware coming out, a lot of activity around the show. But one of the things that really struck me, both before, during, and after the show, there were a ton of announcements about using simulation for monitoring and improving additive manufacturing processes. So this sort of in situ monitoring or simulation ahead of build prep, and also a lot of quality assurance tools. So I'm going to go through a few of these because there were quite a few, and we've been seeing these types of tools emerge before, but there were just a particular a lot of activity this year around that. We saw Hexagon and Stratasys are working together. They've been working together in the past as well on this very thing, where the Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence Division is using their simulation software with Stratasys materials. In this case, they have a new announcement around using PEC materials in their additive manufacturing processes to, simulate performance of the material and the actual, building of a part with that material on their 3D printers. Mark Forged also announced that there were new simulation features in its Eiger software, which is its manages some of the slicing and print workflow management for its hardware. And they also had an additional announcement around a partnership with a company called Handle that does smart manufacturing production cells, which also leverage the Eiger software to, provide a way to simulate and then monitor manufacturing using additive manufacturing. We also saw Sigma Additive, which makes quality assurance software, had a partnership with Dendrite. Um, and one of our editors' picks of the week, actually, back in earlier in November, was another AM quality control product called AM Quality from AM Flow. And that's a series of products that can sort of monitor additive manufacturing and post-processing. And then SLM Solutions also announced a bunch of software partnerships with Materialize, which handles build prep, and with Octon, which is a 3D Systems subsidiary that also does some workflow management and planning on the additive side. And then SLM has its own quality assurance software for additive as well. So it's been interesting to see the real focus on improving additive manufacturing quality, leveraging simulation and some of these other tools, in advance of the build actually happening on the printer.
To me, it seems like it suggests well, it suggests two things, I guess. It suggests one thing, it's that it's the maturity of the technology itself and the industry. And the other thing is that quality, consistency become more important as more and more people start to use it for mass production rather than prototyping. What are your thoughts on that when you look at all these announcements, Brian?
I think that that's true. Is it's even more important now that we're doing a lot of end use parts. The other interesting thing I saw, and I saw this when I was at the IMTS show in Chicago too, is that these tools can, in turn, that are being developed specific for additive or that are being augmented for additive, can in turn be used in better ways for other types of manufacturing processes like machining and like injection molding. For instance, Octon, which is primarily associated with 3D printing. They also had a tool on display at IMTS where they're able to use their software to do automated programming of robotic welding cells. And that's a process that can take days, depending on the type of part that's being made, and they got it down to just a few hours using their tool, and all of that's built on the work they were doing with 3D printing. So I think it's a way that can enhance manufacturing across the board, and also something I think we're going to be looking at in our January February issue next year in 2023.
When I went to AU, the attendance was it was well attended, and the New Orleans Convention Center space was pretty much at full capacity. The display area, which is always the show floor, which is always the most active area. The reason people tend to go there is abuzz with excitement and
Mhm.
a lot of foot traffic. What was your experience in some of the last this year, some of the shows that you went to? What's the atmosphere?
They've definitely been busy. I went to Rapid in Chicago, and it was quite busy. And the same with IMTS in Chicago, and that was a show that only happens every other year. And of course, they'd missed one because of COVID, so there was a lot of pent-up interest in getting there. And there were probably at IMTS 80 or 90,000 people. Um, and they take up all of McCormick Place, both sides of it. So there was a lot of activity, a lot of excitement there. What our publisher Tom Cooney told me, the same was true at Formnext in Europe. Uh, I'll be curious to see how that carries through in 2023, given some of the economic circumstances that are affecting manufacturing. 'Cause we've got two competing, pulls. There's a high inflation and a lot of economic uncertainty on one side, but there's also all this pent-up demand that built up during the pandemic as well. So I'm not sure how those two forces pulling against each other, what that's going to mean moving into next year.
That's right. It's a tug of war, isn't it? Because
Mhm.
inflation pressures you to trim down your costs, but on the other hand, trade shows are one of the way in which our industry generates a lot of revenue. So it's a tug of war between those two opposing forces. But I have a feeling that during the pandemic, during the last 2 years, of course, we saw a lot of virtual shows, and you and I both know you can only do so many of these before the Zoom fatigue or the online show fatigue start to bite into you.
Right.
So there is a demand, there's a yearning for people to people interaction, it seems to me.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts going into next year?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing that. And I think the more interesting thing to look at will be some of the software focused shows where the in-person interaction, at least in terms of sales and demos and end user education, wasn't as important as, with the hardware, you kind of need to be there and see it and look at it and touch it. uh, during the height of the pandemic, the software companies in our space really didn't slow down at all. They were able to grow and increase sales without those in-person interactions. So how enthusiastically people return to those types of events in 2023, that'll be kind of telling, I think.
Right, that's true. The first show that we will probably be covering and going to in person would be what used to be called SolidWorks World, but now called 3D Experience World. So we look forward to bringing more news from this event.
Right. Right. Now, before we wrap up today, I know you had one more story that I thought was very interesting. Can you tell us a little bit about the competition that you were looking at?
Yeah, you forwarded it to me. You gave me uh, the lead to it, so thank you very much for that.
Mhm.
It's a interesting company called Make 48. Make 48 is a company that specializes in hosting 48-hour kind of design competition in its makerspace environment. So you already have access to their milling and 3D printer and 3D modeling software and that kind of things in the makerspace. And they are a partner of Onshape, one of the browser-hosted 3D CAD company that we closely follow. And this week they have a event coming up, and that'll be featuring competition teams from the Kansas State School for the Blind. So we're looking at different teams of visually impaired students joining forces and participating in solving some kind of design challenge. We don't know what the challenge is yet, but I have a feeling, of course, considering what the school is all about, it probably has to do with overcoming kind of adversities, things that normally people like you and I might not think about that would prove challenging for students from this school.
Well, I'll be definitely interested to see what the results of that are and how they manage some of the accessibility issues with the design tools and the hardware. So please keep us posted on that.
I'll definitely do. I have a feeling that this is our last editor's chat episode for the year. So can I ask you, Brian, what's your plan for Christmas holiday season?
Well, so far it will probably just be trying to make sure I get my shopping done on time, which may or may not happen. And then we usually do a quiet Christmas at home, followed by some manic travel around to see family. So that's how
Very
that's
good.
probably going to work this year. How about you, Kenneth?
I'll also, of course, take some time off, like most people do. And now that Japan is reopened again for foreign travelers, I'll be going there and I'll be spending about a week or so in Tokyo and looking forward to practice the Japanese that I've been learning for the past 2 years or so during the pandemic.
All right, that sounds exciting. And hey, maybe depending on how the games go the next couple of days, maybe there'll be some World Cup celebrations in Japan
Who
uh,
knows?
when
Yes,
you get
indeed.
there.
Yes, yeah. Good. Well, Brian, it's always a pleasure to chat with you and catch up. Thank you very much.
Same, Kenneth. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you again next year. Happy
All
New
right.
Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Bye bye.